Om Bhadram Karnebhih Srinuyama Devaha Bhadram Pashye Makshabhirya Jatraha Sthirairangai Stushtuvagansastanubhi Vyashema Devahitan Yadayuhu Swasti na Indro Vruddhasravaha Swasti na Pusha Vishwavedaha Swastirnastakshyo Arishtanemihi Swasti no Vrihaspatir Dadhatu Om Shanti 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 Hari Om. May we hear with our ears what is auspicious. May we see with our eyes what is auspicious. While praying with steady limbs, may we attain the lifespan allotted to us. May Indra bestow well-being on us. May Pushan, the god of the earth, who is all-knowing, bestow well-being on us. May Garuda, the destroyer of evil, bestow well-being on us. May Brihaspati also bestow well-being on us. Om Shanti, Shanti, Shanti. So the last class we concluded the study of the first chapter of the second part of Mundaka Upanisad. So today we will start with the study of the second chapter of the second part of Mundaka Upanisad. As you all know that, as we have already discussed, there are 3 parts in Mundaka Upanishad, and each part has 2 chapters. So now we are going to start the second chapter of the second part of Mundaka Upanishad. So in the last chapter, the second mantra, we saw that the ultimate reality has been described as formless, attributeless. The second mantra was Divya hi amurta purusha sa bahyabhyantara hi ajaha apranah hi amana shubhra hi aksharat paratah para. So Divya hi amurta purusha, that he is self-luminous. Nothing can illumine him. Because of him, everything is illuminated. But at the same time, he is formless, amurta. He is uncreated, aja. The thing which is ever is, which was never created, is ajaha. He was there by his own right in the past. He is there, he will be there. So he is the uncreated one, akshara. And he's existing both within and without. The entire creation is permeated by him. Though he is formless, but it is because of him the entire creation is. So he is devoid of all the energy, though the source of all energy is he, but he himself is devoid of all energy, of prana. He is devoid of mind, though it is he because of whom the mind gets activated, but he himself is beyond the mind. He is the pure, Shubhra, the higher than the supreme imperishable. That when we find that the creation, the first evolute of the creation is the cosmic mind, he is higher even than that. The cosmic mind from which the entire creation has emanated, he is beyond that as the formless, amurta, the one without attributes, because of whom everything is, but the one who cannot as such be objectified. So now the question is, how the immutable can be known though it is formless? So it is formless, attributeless. How can it be known? So the Upanishad starts, the second chapter starts with the affirmation of the fact that though it is formless, though it is beyond attributes, it can be known. So with that idea, it will start. So let us enter the first mantra of the second chapter of the second part of Mundaka Upanishad. What it is saying? Avihi sannihitam guhacharang nama mahat padam atra etat samarpitam ejat pranat nimishat chayat etat janatah sat asat varenyam param vigyanat varishtham prajanam. So what it is saying? Avihi. Avihi means it is effulgent. And it is not something extraterrestrial, that he has created the creation and as if thrown out the creation, which is something as if apart from it. It's not like that. That when we design something, the thing which we design is not me. It is something apart from me. But here, it has been mentioned that the self-luminous one, the effulgent one, the one who is the cause of the entire creation, is something very near at hand. Sannihitan is close to you. Where he is? Guhacharan Namaha. So he is well known as moving in the heart. So whenever Vedanta speaks of heart, it is the intellect. That the brain is the center of the intellect that we can only know through scanning. But as far as our feelings are concerned, when you feel love, you feel through the heart. When you feel when you are angry, it is the heart which gets agitated. All the emotions are felt by the heart. There is a link between all our feelings and the heart. The strong feelings can even result in heart attack. So that's the thing which you don't need to scan. It's just palpably something conceivable. You can just perceive it. You can feel it. So that's why the heart was considered as the center of intellect. So he is as if moving in the heart, in the form of the intellect. So though he is formless, but his presence can be felt in the heart. Guhacharan Nama Mahat Padam Atra Etat Samarpitam. So Mahat Padam. Padam always means the ultimate, the destination. Padam means destination. Mahat. So he's the greatest goal. Nothing can be greater than him. Why? Because in it is centered everything. He is like as if the hub of the will, of which the entire creation are like the spikes. We are all like the spikes which are fixed to the hub of the will. So he is the center. In him, everything is connected. He is the source of everything. So atra etat samarpitam. Everything is as if offered to him. Everything is centered around him. So atra etat samarpitam. What all those atra etat means? Ejat, pranat, nimishat, chayat. Ejat, anything that moves. Pranat, anything that breathes. Nimishat, anything that blinks. And by cha, it means that even the things which are not moving, the things which are having no as such expression of the vital energy or breath, or the things which doesn't wink, the creature which doesn't wink, or some non-animate objects which doesn't, there's a question of winking, moving, and breathing doesn't come. All these are permeated by him. So, Ejat, Pranat, Nimishat, Chayat, Etat Janata, Sat, Asat, Varenyam, Param. So, know that to be yourself. Now, what is the self? The one who is not far away, is not extraterrestrial. He is within you. Because of him, he is the effulgent one. Because he is the source of all light. Because of him, you see the sun. It is not that the sun gives light. As the self illumines the sun, so the sun appears as a luminous being. He is the ultimate source of all illumination. So he is the source. Avihi. So, but he is something within you, not far away. When I see the sun, it is far away. But myself, which is illuminating the sun, is within me. It is moving within my heart. It is the great goal. And everything is centered around him. All that moves, breathes, blinks. So know that to be yourself, which is both gross as well as subtle. Anything you see, anything which is subtle, which is gross, everything is permeated by that self and self alone, and which is adorable, varenyam, supreme, param, and beyond the understanding of creatures. So though he is the greatest one, he is the adorable one, but I cannot know him the way I can know any other creatures of the world. There may be many creatures, there may be various beings who are adorable. I can know him, I can objectify him, but this self, who is the ultimate, supreme, adorable being, he can never be objectified. That's why he's beyond the understanding of the creatures. So that's the language. It's almost like babbling. A small child have experienced something and it doesn't have the sufficient vocabulary to express. So Upanishad, here we find the rishis, that their experience has been expressed in the words, which appears to be contradictory because it is something which is beyond words, beyond speech. They're trying to explain. So let us just try to go through this each and every these words and find out the inner meaning of it. So Avihi, the luminous, the Brahman is manifest in all entities as Asti Bhati Priya. Asti, it is. It is almost this Asti Bhati Priya is similar to Sat Chit Ananda. It is. And it is luminous, Bhati. It is conscious. Because of it, everything is illumined. Just to, as we were saying, that the sun is also illumined by the self. How? If I am not here, whether the sun is there, how can I know? Can you know, can the existence of some sun be affirmed? Can it be confirmed without the existence of the animates being the self? It is me who certify the existence of the sun. So that's why they call Mahato Mahiyan. The one, the self within me is greater than the greatest. The sun is such a huge luminary body, but how it is being illuminated? The self illumines my mind through the senses moves out to, it projects out the consciousness through the mind, projects out through the self to encompass the luminous sun to say that it is luminous. So all the perceptions are happening from within, without. Without the self, there cannot be any illumination. The sun doesn't know by itself that it exists, that it illumines the world. For its existence, it is me who have to give that existence to the sun. Actually, it is the mind and the senses, the way it is projecting the universe. That's what I see. What actually it is can never be known. So the universe is because the self through the mind and the senses is manifesting it the way it is. So it is the self through which everything gets illuminated. So it is bhati, it is bliss, it is priya. That's the meaning of the word avi, that avi means that asti bhati priya. There's three things which defines that ultimate reality. Of that, the bhati factor, the luminosity factor, is being expressed by the word avihi. Sannihita, as we were saying, Brahman is not extraterrestrial. We did not have to search Brahman elsewhere because it is near at hand. Sannihita, iha, here, within me. Where? Guhacharanga. Brahman is well known as moving in the cavity of the heart. What is moving? There's a very nice, interesting Buddhist anecdote that the two monks were quarreling. That when we say this Guhacharang Nama, that Brahman is well known to be moving in the cavity of the heart. What actually is moving? Not the thing outside. When I see anything moving outside, that movement is perceived in the mind. When the mind moves, then the external thing appears to be moving. Just to give an example, when through the projector, this light is being focused to the projector to the screen, what is happening? There is a reel of various pictures. All the pictures are stationary, but when they move very fast and the light passes through them, in the screen, the movement happens. But as such, all the reels, it is, if you just see the reel, it is just a series of photos through which the light is passing and the reel is moving very fast to give a sensation of movement. When I move my hand this way, if the photos of all the instances are taken, and then through the projector, that all those instances of photo are kept as a reel, and you move the reel and focus the camera, the screen will appear to be moving, but actually it is a series of stationary photos. So all the perceptions which are happening is piecemeal perceptions. Like those fixed photos of the camera, the movement is happening within the mind. When this all the succession of steady pictures goes through the mind one after the other, as if the mind moves, that gives me the sensation of movement outside. So what's the Buddhist story? Very nice. It's a very nice anecdote that two monks were just passing by the street and they saw a flag waving in the wind. It was just waving. So one monk told, the flag is moving. The other told, no, the wind is moving. So there was a quarrel between them. So they went to the teacher. They went to the senior monk first. And what he's told is very interesting. He says the mind is moving. Neither the flag is moving, nor the wind. It is the mind that is moving. And ultimately, still they were not convinced. They went to the abbot, the senior monk, and he told nothing is moving. So this actually speaks of the idea. The Brahman is the one who is not moving. Because of his presence, the mind is moving. And that gives the sensation that the flag is moving and the wind is blowing. This wind is blowing and the flag is moving are the suggestions in the external world. What is actually happening, we don't know. That is interpreted by the mind as the movement of the flag, as the movement of the wind. It's just the example which we give again and again. The external world, outside, nothing as such enters my mind. When I see the flower, the red flower, that redness, the color of the flower, nothing is going to my mind. It is just touching my eyeball, and there it ends. After that, it gets converted into some nerve current. What is going to my brain is some nerve current. The color is actually when that particular nerve current goes to the color perception center. It's just a nerve current. The brain is dark. No light is going there. The color is actually projected from there. The color perception is not actually perception center. It is actually projection center. And that color is projected. It encompasses the so-called flower to give me the sense of redness. So all the perceptions are happening that way. The external world is there just as a suggestion. All the attributes, color, movement, whatever it may be, is actually the projection of the mind. And how the mind is projecting all that thing? Because behind that, the self, which is beyond all movement, which is beyond all attributes, is there activating the mind. When I'm in deep sleep, this mind is there, but it is not activated by the consciousness. So I see nothing. Then when I wake up, my mind is getting activated by the conscious principle, and this world pops up. It is popping up from the mind. External world is a suggestion which is there. It is Sat. But what's the attributes? The attributes are something which are thrown out, projected out from within me. So now you will find when this is Guhacharang Nama, that Brahman is not moving. That the senior most monk told that nothing is moving. That is the Brahman. But when he comes in association with the mind gets activated. That mind, the intellect whose center is the cavity of the heart, that moves. So that's why the thing which you feel in your heart is the self. Because of the self, that all the feelings, the perceptions are possible. So he's near, he's sitting within the heart, making all those possible. So that's why He's well known to be moving in the cave of the heart. So he's Mahat because he's the ultimate subject. Because of him, everything gets illumined. But he can never be objectified because the ultimate subject can never be objectified. Just the way when I'm seeing the world with my eyes I see everything. But with my eyes, I cannot see my own eyes. But how I am aware of my eyes? Because behind the eyes, the mind is there, where all the things which I see is being processed by the mind. As the mind is there behind the eyes, I know the presence of the mind. So the mind becomes a subject compared in relative to my eyes. Then why not say that the mind is the ultimate? No, I know the presence of my mind. I know that I have a mind. When I think, I know I am thinking. So mind is also objectified. So there must be someone behind the mind. Anything which can be is objectified cannot be the subject. So there must be something behind the mind. And that's the one which is the greatest, because it can never be in any way objectified. So that's the Mahat. He's the greatest because he's the ultimate subject. As in the Kena Upanishad, it has been mentioned that the self, because of the self, what is it is that it is revealed. The self cannot be seen by itself, but it is revealed through each and every mental pulsations. Pratibodha viditam. Each and every vrittis. Just the way light cannot be seen. Can you see light? We cannot see light. We say, yes, I'm seeing that this room is illumined. If you go to the moon, even in the broad daylight, you will find the sky is dark. The sun is just visible in one spot, but the entire thing is dark. Why we see light here? Because Earth has atmosphere. The sunlight falls on the atmosphere, and this is the atmosphere which is getting illumined. Light by itself is not visible. If you go to the space, it is dark. It's only because the Earth, we see this illumination, because the light is falling on that atmosphere, where something is there. All the air particles are there, which is dispersing the light. Light by itself is not visible. I know the presence of light only when some element is there. I know the existence of magnetic field only when the iron filings are kept in the magnetic field and it starts moving. Otherwise, I don't know. I know that the existence of gravitation when something I just allow to have a free fall, it falls. Otherwise, can I see gravitation? Can I see the magnetic field? But are they not there? They are there. Because of them, the iron filings are moving. Because of the gravity, there is a fall of the object. The apple is falling. Because of light itself is not visible. The thing on which it falls becomes visible, but it itself is not visible. So the same way, that each and every thought waves, the vritti, as it is illumined by the self, and that's how all the pratyayas, the content of the waves, become visible. Means in the mind, each and every moment there is a pulsation, there is a vritti. It's constantly there. Even in deep sleep, it is there. And what's our knowledge in the wake state? That the external world is as if reflected on it. And as the self is there to illumine what is being reflected, the things get known. So that's why it's called Pratibodha Viditam, that he is revealed through each and every vritti of the mind. With every pulsations of the mind, behind that, the self is there. Because of him, the world gets illumined. So Tasya bhasa sarvamidam vibhati, as in the Kathopanishad it has been mentioned. Because of him, everything gets illumined. So that's why he's the Mahat. He's the greatest. And Brahman is Padam, or goal, that is to be reached by all. Why it is the goal? Because the next phrase, as mentioned, Atra etat samarpitam, that like the spokes of a wheel, which are fixed to the hub, the entire creation is fixed to the hub. That hub is the Brahman. That all are linked to that. Without it, nothing exists. The entire creation is like the spokes, and the self is the hub. He is the one, everything else is zero, as Ramakrishna used to say that if you go on adding 0 after 1, the value goes on increasing. Remove the 1, everything becomes 0. So everything becomes valueless if the self is not there. Because of him, everything is. What all things are centered? Ajat, anything that moves. Pranat, anything that breathes. Nimishat, anything that is winking. Cha indicates that doesn't wink, that doesn't breathe, that doesn't move. In short, everything, animate, inanimate, everything is connected to the self. As has been in Bhagavad Gita, it has been mentioned, na tadasti yat, na tadasti vina yat syat maya bhutam characharam. No creature, moving or non-moving, can exist without me, without the self. They cannot exist. Because of him, everything is existing. Sat, asat, the form, the gross matter which I see. And behind that gross matter, the formless, the asat, the subtle, all the piecemeal perceptions congregate together to give the structure of a thing. So everything subtle, all the piecemeal perceptions, as well as the gross thing which I see, anything subtle, anything gross, everything is permeated by that consciousness and consciousness alone. It is Varanyam Param. It is the ultimate adorable. Why? Because of its eternality. We all want to just, get identified with the self. Why? Because we all want to be eternal. That something within us is echoing constantly that you are eternal. That's the reason for the entire evolution. That because of ignorance, the eternal self gets reflected in the psychophysical this being, the psychophysical, this limited being with the psychophysical entity. That is a flow. That is not eternal. But when the eternal Brahman is reflected on it, the echo comes from the reflection that you are eternal. And that's how the ignorance starts. That I am ignorant, that I'm seeing the reflection, I take it to be the real, and try to realize the echo of eternity in something which is a flow. And that has resulted in the entire evolution. That constantly the search for eternity speaks of the selves, this that's the selves, that Varishtham, it has been this Varanyam Param as the ultimate adorable thing. Because everyone wants that. Everyone is aspiring for that. So he is the one who is the ultimate adorable one. So he's Varanyam Param. So, but at the same time, that Vijnanat Varishtam, that however it is not something which can be coveted like any object perceived, that though he is the most adorable one, I cannot go and meet him. I cannot just say, oh, he's the coveted one, the most adorable one. Why? Says, because Vijnanat Varishtham Prajanam, he's beyond the understanding of creatures. Because of him, everything is getting illuminated. Just because of light, everything gets illuminated. I cannot see the light. Similarly, the self, who is the ultimate source of illumination of the entire creation, he cannot be as such known objectively. So that's why, though he is the adorable one, but still he is beyond the knowledge of all the creatures. As has been spoken of in the Kena Upanishad, Yat Manasa Na Manute Yena Ahu Mano Matam. That which cannot be contemplated by mind. You cannot contemplate the self by the mind, but by which the mind is known. That's the thing. That you cannot, with the mind, you cannot know it, but because of it, the mind is known. Just to give an example, in the full moon night, in the sky, when I see the moon, apparently it appears it is the moon which is illuminating the earth. The sun is not visible, but we know it is the sun which has illuminated the moon, which in turn is illuminating the earth. So the sun which is not visible is illuminating the moon. The moon cannot illuminate the sun. But seeing the illuminated moon, I know it has been illuminated by something which is not visible, and in turn, which is illuminating the entire earth in the full moon night. So similarly, it is the self which is beyond all comprehension, illumines the mind. The mind in turn illumines the creation. The entire creation pops up because of the illumined mind. So, and that mind is illumined by the self, which as such cannot be comprehensible. So is beyond the mind. Then how to know him? In the Kathopanishad, that's a famous mantra is there. Paranchi khani vetrinat swambhu. By searching him without, I can never find him. Because our search is always without. We have to dive within. That's mantra, very famous mantra. Paranchi khani vetrinat swambhu tasmat parang pashyati na antaratman kaschid dhira pratyagatmanaishat avritta chakshu amritatvam icchan. Paranchi khani. The Lord, it's a poetical way of expression. The Lord, the ultimate Lord, has inflicted our senses, injured our senses in such a way that it only sees the thing outside. Parak. Parak means outside. These are the two words in Sanskrit, very significant word. Parak and pratyak. Parak means moving out. Pratyak means moving within. So parak. So as the senses have been inflicted by the Lord in such a way that they only see without, parak pashyati, na antaratma, not within. Kaschid dhira. A few fortunate ones, those who have evolved to that state, to have understood, to have realized the fact that it is the self which is within, which is illuminating the entire universe. So they in search of the self, and how to find him, they have to be dhira. Dhira means wise, dhira means calm. It is only the calm of the person who has already calmed their mind, who is tranquil, who can have the inkling of the self, the knowledge of the self. So this dhira, the calm one, the tranquil one, the wise one, they have realized that by moving out, searching out, I can never find the self. It is have to be searched within. So pratyak atmanakshat, pratyak, the one who is within, sitting within, who is illumining the entire world. So to find him, aikshat means to, in desiring to know the one who is within, this pratyak atman. What they do? Avritta chakshu. They close their senses, because with the senses, by searching out, you will never find him. It's just like the throughout our life, like a deer with a musk is in search of the source of fragrance outside, running, getting exhausted. The deer even dies out of exhaustion when they're in search for this fragrance. It is just within them. So similarly, this in search of the source of our entire this creation, if we are just moving out, searching hither and thither, not knowing that it is within. It is only the dhira, the fortunate ones, the calm one, the wise one, who know that it is something within. So they close their eyes. By eyes, it is meant all the indriyas. They close. Why? Amritattvam ichcham, to attain that eternity. So we sometimes use this sloka to explain this sloka with the help of an allegory. You know, if you go to the jail or if you go to the operation theater, you will find in OT, operation theater, there are always two doors, that it should be kept free from infection. So there are two doors. So when you just enter through the first door, it is all swinging door. You enter, and after that, before entering the second door, first you have to sanitize yourself. There are some sanitizers, masks, everything kept between the two doors. So by the time you have entered the first door, it has automatically got closed, and now you have sanitized yourself, and then you open the second door. So these two doors are never supposed to be open at the same time. When you're opening the first door, the second door is already closed. That also ensures that no, as such, infections, pathogens can enter. Whatever has entered there, that also you're getting rid of through sanitizing. And then already the outer door is now closed. Now you open the second door. Even in jail, it is the same thing. That when you enter any jail, any reformatory centers, there also you will find there are two doors. The first gate, when you open this, they ensure that the second door is locked, that no one should get a chance to flee, run away. So that's why that system is there. That first, the external door, when they open, they ensure the internal door is closed, is locked. When you have entered between the two doors, the external door is locked first, and then only they will open the internal door. So that way it is ensured that no one can escape. So what's the idea? That our body is also like that. This is all the eyes, ears, these organs of perception are the external gates. And there is a gate in the heart. It is always closed. Why? Because these gates are always open. We are never aware of the gate which is closing my heart. The self within is as if enclosed there. I never know it. Kaschid dhira. There are a few calm ones who have closed this external gate. For them only the internal gate opens up. Otherwise, it's not possible. It's have to. So that there's the same idea we find even in the temples. You will find that the Garbhagriha has doors, external doors. As long as they're open, no service, means no offering to the Lord is done. Whenever something is to be offered to the Lord, you have to commune with the divine. The external doors has to be closed. When you are offering something, you will find in many of these traditional temples that the Garbhagriha, the doors are closed. And you ask, why it's closed? No, the offering is going on. It's only when the offering is over again that it will be open. What's the idea? That you cannot have communion with the divine as long as these external doors are open. So it has to be closed. And then only you can have communion with the ultimate source of your existence, the soul, the Atman, the Brahman, the ultimate reality. So that's the idea why saying that Vijnanat Varishtham Prajanam, it indicates that as long as we are in search of that adorable one, as we were doing through lives, chasing for eternity, in search of eternity, we are evolving with all external means. It's never possible. This all chase for this material world has to go, or the sunset world has to go. We have to close our eyes, our senses, and dive within to realize the self, the source of our existence, the source of our being. So that's what is being indicated in the first mantra. Now let's proceed to the second mantra. Second mantra of the second chapter of second part of Mundaka Upanisad. Yat archimat, yat anubhya anucha, yasmin loka nihita lokinahacha, tat etat aksharang brahma saprana, tat uvak manaha, tat etat satyam, tat amritam, tat vedhavyam, somya vidhi. It's very poetic. But yat archimat, that which is radiant. Again, the idea of luminosity, the ultimate source of luminosity, the self. Yat archimat, yat anubhya anu, subtler than the subtle. Cha indicates even greater than the greatest. He's subtler than the subtlest, again the greater than the greatest. Yasmin loka nihita, lokina hacha. All the various planes of existence, the various celestial planes of existence, and those who are existing there, lokinaha, all is pervaded by the self and self alone. Tat etam aksharang brahma, sa prana tat uvak manaha. So, that verily is this indestructible Brahman. So, that is the prana, this tat akshara, this tat etat aksharang brahma, sa prana, all the expression of the vital energy is because of the self, tat uvak manaha, all our speech, our mind, everything is because the self is. The self, because of the self, all these things finds expression. Tat etat satyam, tat amritam. So that is the only truth. Why it is the only truth? Because it is amrita, because it is immortal. So in Vedanta, the idea, the sat is defined that which can never be annihilated. That is only true. Everything is a mere projection. I as a physical being is a mere projection because it's a flow. I was born at a certain point of time. I will live for a certain period of time, and then there won't be my existence as a physical being. Then is everything a flow? Now, behind the flow, there is something which is the substratum of the entire existence, because of which all this flow is possible. This samsara means that which is flowing. The entire samsara is substantiated by the self. Because of the self, the samsara is there. All the flow which I see, samsarate iti samsara, all the flow, jagamyam jagat, that everything which is moving in this earth, everything is moving, everything is changing. Behind the change is the changeless. So he is the amritam, and that changeless is eternal. That's why it is the satyam. So he is the ultimate truth. Tat vedhavyam. So you have to pierce that. That's your object of, what you say, this aim. That when you are shooting an arrow, you have to have some, what you say, that the target. So this is the self is the target. This jivatma, the individual self, has to merge in the Paramatma. Paramatma is the target. When I shot an arrow and it hits the target, it penetrates the target, then the arrow as if becomes one with the target. So you have to become one with the self. So that's the idea by tat vedhavyam. It has to be penetrated, to be shot at by the mind. So by this jivatma has to get one with the Paramatma. Somya vidhi, oh the good-natured one. He's saying to the disciple, oh Somya. Somya literally means the good-looking one, but its real meaning is, it's not just the external beauty. Our real beauty is our nature. So the one who is good-natured, who is already calm, quiet, who has developed the aspiration to relate to that spiritual dimension of existence, he is the Somya. So, oh the Somya, oh the good-natured one, oh the wise one, oh the calm one. So fix your mind on the immutable. Vedhavyam, tad vidhi. So fix, you shoot at it, hit the target, know it not as the multitude, but know it as the substratum of the multitude. So that's the idea, that the world, entire creation, is true, not as the creation, but as the self. As Swami Turiyananda, just before he left his body, that's the last sentence he told. He used to say, Brahma Satya Jagan Mithya, as per the Vedantic dictum. That's what he also always used to do, vichara, that this world is false. Brahman alone is real. This is just an illusion, superimposition. Just the way I see a snake in a rope in the twilight hours. The snake is not there. It is just been superimposed. The world is mithya in that sense. It is something superimposed. That's true. But why is saying Brahma Satya, Jagat Satya? In one way I can say it is a superimposition, so it is a false. But I can say it is true as long as the rope is there, though it is ignorance. I'm seeing the rope as a snake. But if I remove the rope, the snake is no more there. As long as the snake is there, the rope is there. So this rope, this snake is true as long as the rope is there. So this truth is established in that truth. The same idea we find in the Shanti mantra, Purnamada Purnamidam, Purnat Purnamudachyate, Purnasya Purnamadaya, Purnamevavashishyate. That from this full came that full. When this means this full is visible, that full is not diminished, still it remains full. How can it be? If I have a glass of water, if I pour, in the empty glass, that becomes full, this becomes empty. So how can this full, even when poured out, remain full? So that speaks of adhyasa, that this creation is not parinama. It's not that the God has transformed into the universe. He is as it is. It is just a superimposition. So know that behind the substratum, behind this multitude, is the self. It is the one who is appearing as many. There's a unity in the diversity. As Brahman, that's the unity behind all the diversity. Without him, the creation is not. With him, the multitude is possible. Though it is just a mere superimposition, but the superimposition is possible because the self is there behind as the substratum. Now, how to strike it? That will be explained in that as the Jivatma is the arrow which has to strike the Paramatma, the target. How to do that? That will be spoken of in the third and the fourth mantra. So let's read the third mantra. What it is saying? It's again through a form of allegory, this idea of piercing the target, the Paramatma becoming unified with the Jivatma becoming unified with the Paramatma is being described with the help of some allegory. So what's that allegory? As has been mentioned in the third and the fourth mantra. First, let us read the third mantra. Dhanu grihitva Upanishadam mahastram sharanghi upasa nishitam sandhait ayamya tat bhavagatena chetasa lakshyam tat eva aksharam somya viddhi. Dhanu grihitya Upanishadam mahastram. So in Sanskrit, there are two words, astra and shastra. Astra means weapon which has to be shot. And shastra is something which you hold, which you don't release. Like sword is a shastra. And the arrow is astra. So here, with the dhanu means the bow with which you will be shooting the arrow. So what is that bow? That bow is the Upanishad. Upanishad is the Mahastram. So though you are holding the bow, you are not leaving the bow, but it is used to release the arrow. So that's why it is Astra. So with the Astra, Mahastra called this Upanishad, you have to just hold that in your hand, Grihitva, Sharam, the arrow. Hi upasa nishitam sandhaita. So in that bow, you have to first fix the arrow. What is that arrow? The Jivatma. The bow is the Upanishad. The Upanishad is the bow with the help. That is the help. What you say? That's the instrument by which you are going to release the arrow, the Jivatma, so that it pierces, becomes one with the Paramatma. Sharanghi upasa. And what is the process? Upasa nishitam. Means, what you say, that the arrow has to be sharpened. So that how to sharpen the arrow? Through upasana. Upasa nishitam means there's upasana nishitam. Means through upasana, you have to make it tikshna. Tikshna means sharpen. If you can, this through the meditation, the arrow has to be sharpened. So that's what is meant by upasa nishitam. Sandhaita. Sandhaita means you should fix. So fix the shara in the bow, and then that bow has to be sharpened with upasana. And ayamya, you have to then, when I have to shoot the arrow, first I have to draw the string. So that speaks of withdrawing your senses, drawing the string. So ayamya, you withdraw your senses from the censored place, from the censored entanglements of the world. So ayamya, tat bhavagatena chetasa. So your senses are withdrawn and your mind is contemplating on the consciousness, on the ultimate conscious principle, that is Chetana. So tat bhavagatena chetasa lakshyam tat eva aksharam. The target is the Paramatma, the Akshara. Somya Viddhi. So strike it. So taking Upanishad, the great weapon, as the bow, Dhanu Grihitya Upanishadam Mahastram, and then one should fix on it, the Sandhaita, you should fix on it. What? The Sharam, the arrow, the Jivatma. And then that arrow has to be sharpened by meditation. Upasa Nishitam. Upasa Nishitam. You have sharpened the arrow and then drawing the string by withdrawing the senses. O good-natured one, O Saumya, hit the very target. Lakshyam tat eva aksharam vidhi. That which is imperishable, that which is eternal, that which is the only truth. How to do that? With the mind absorbed in its thought. Tat bhavagatena chetasa. So this Dhanu Grihatva Upanishadam Mahastram. So what actually is the practice? That's of the entire Upanishad. After studying the entire Upanishad, at last I get convinced about the non-dual reality, the Brahman. And the Vachaka of that Brahman is Om. So that will be spoken of in the next mantra. So I cannot just go on discussing on the mantras of the Upanishads and have that concentration. After studying, the conviction develops about the ultimate reality, the Brahman, whose Vachaka, the word which represents that Brahman, is the Om. So holding onto the Om means repetition of the Omkara. So this is very important. Here you will find in our tradition, whatever may be your Ishta mantra, whatever may be your chosen deity, that when you do the repetition, the japa, the Ishta is always linked with the Omkara, because that's the idea that your Ishta, after all, is not just a ordinary physical being. He is that ultimate conscious principle. So that's why the Omkara is always linked with that. So we are always, when we are chanting that Om, we are actually contemplating on Brahman. So use the Omkara as the Dhanu. When it says that the Upanishad has to be used as the Dhanu, in the next mantra it will be clarified that way. It is the Omkara. So it is the contemplation of Om. With that, you have to sharpen the arrow. The arrow is the Jivatma. By doing that Upasana Nishitam, Upasa Nishitam. So the Jivatma is the arrow, the sharpened by meditation, by means of uninterrupted meditation on Brahman. The individual soul gets rid of all the impurities. That's how the mind, which is having bahuvritti, that lots of these thoughts, vagaries of the mind, the bahuvritti, which speaks of sarvarthata, the mind with thousands of goals, thousands of pursuits, that has to be made ekavritti through contemplation. That all that I am thinking A, B, C, D, it has to be made, I have each and every vritti should be the same, ekavritti. And what is that vritti should be? It is the brahmakara vritti, the thought of the Brahman in the form, and the thought of the Brahman, I take the help of Omkara to think of that Brahman. So with this brahmakara vritti, now that each and every vritti, instead of all those vagaries, it becomes the continuous flow of the Omkara japa. And behind that, it is not just a mechanical repetition. Behind it, the idea that of that non-dual reality, which is the substratum of the entire universe, which is my real nature. So this is the idea with which I go on contemplating. And that contemplation should be followed by the withdrawal of the senses. So if the mind has to be made one ekavritti, I cannot continue with the pursuit of the thousands of the pleasures of life. So that's why the senses has to be withdrawn, ayamya. And the mind has to be totally soaked in the God consciousness, soaked in the consciousness of your ultimate reality. Tat bhavagatena chetasa means immersing the mind in the thought of Brahman alone. And then the target is the Paramatma. The Jivatma has to become one with the Paramatma. When you leave off all the attributes, all the things which defines your limited personality, all those adjectives which define your limited personality, they have to fall off so that you can become one with the absolute, the Paramatma. Your ego boundaries falls off. So that is possible only through this type of contemplation. So by contemplating on the meaning of Om and repeating the sound, the aspirant realizes his self. That's to be the reflection of Brahman. It is through this process, when the mind gets cleansed, at last you can realize that it is just the reflection, seeing which we were all ignorantly from lives after life, chasing after the sunset pleasures of life, thinking to realize the eternity in the physical being, which is not possible. So it is through the contemplation of the Om and the repetition of the sound, the aspirant realizes his self to be the reflection of Brahman. And hitting the arrow on the target indicates the identification of the Jivatma with the Paramatma. When the arrow pierces the target, the arrow becomes as if one with the target. So that is the identification of the Jivatma and the Paramatma. So it is through the allegory they're trying to explain the process by which we can become identified with the self. It is the process of nididhyasana, contemplation. And that contemplation also extremely intense. It's not a shallow meditation where other thoughts comes and interrupts my ekavritti, brahmakara vritti. In that way, I can never achieve the goal. It has to be sharpened. It has to be one-pointed so that it can help me to pierce the target, the Paramatma, and get identified with it. So this is the same allegory, the same simile will be used in the fourth mantra to still further elaborate this process of contemplation on Brahman, which is the only means for going beyond this phenomenal existence and get identified with the self. So that's the mantra, the fourth mantra. We will just read it today and we will go to the discussion of this. This fourth mantra is very significant. We will take one full class because it has many layers of understanding. We have to go through that and it will explain that about our spiritual life. You will find a very clear explanation that what actually the ultimate goal is. For most of us, when we reach a particular milestone and we become satisfied that my spiritual journey is over, that I have attained something. So this is the mantra which will help us to understand that the goal is something still far ahead. We shouldn't stop. We shouldn't be satisfied by reaching just a particular milestone. We have to move ahead. We have to intensify our spiritual practices so that it can lead us to that ultimate spiritual realization. So that's being indicated in the fourth mantra. Pranavo dhanu sharohi atma brahma tat lakshya muchyate apramattena. This word is very important. We will take up in the next class. Vedhavyam sharavat tanmaya. This another important word is tanmaya. Tatmaya, becoming one with that. Bhavet, become one with this. Just pierce it and become one with it. So what actually it is speaking of? What's the layer of understanding hidden behind this mantra? That we will take up again in the next class. With this, we stop our discussion today. Thank you all. Namaskars.